For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
The violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the Insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber. This is Derrick Evans. It's Friday. We've survived another week, and we are another week closer to inaugurating Trump once again in Washington, D.C.
That's the key right there. We survived one more week under this illegitimate Biden-Harris regime. We're 1 week closer to getting President Trump back in office, where we can actually try to save our country and save the world, quite frankly. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe. If you're watching live, leave a comment. We'll do our very best to include you guys and give you a shout out, kind of like this. Shout out to Sean over there in the Getter chat, Dan Dreyer in the Rumble chat, and we really appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. We got an awesome show lined up for you guys.
Yeah, thank you to everybody that's helped us grow to the point where we're at now. We've almost doubled our audience in the last couple of weeks, and I really appreciate everybody's help to spread the news the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about. And actually, before we get into, we've got a lot to cover today, but before we get into those stories, I got a video for you guys. There's somebody over at CNN that might finally be starting to understand the problem.
The Philly suburbs, and I'm telling you, we are way off. The entire political class is way off. First of all, digital is a new door knocking. Mm-hmm. You got to understand that. We were laughing our butts off at Donald Trump for suspending his door knocking campaign and letting Charlie Kirk and Elon do a bunch of stuff online. Mm-hmm. We said, these guys are idiots. These guys are stupid. Then you start knocking on these doors. You know what people come to the door with? Their phone in their hand. They're in a 24-hour digital surround sound that has nothing to do with CNN, has nothing to do with any stuff that we do. I asked I got a teenage son, I asked him, who are the most influential people in the world today? I'm thinking to myself, he's going to say Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z. He says, Kai Cent, Aiden Ross, Jinxie, and Sketch. I don't know who he's talking about. I said, what platforms are you on? He goes, I'm on Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. I said, that sounds like you need to go to the hospital. What are these platforms? I'm telling you guys, the mainstream has become fringe, and the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams, and we're on cable news getting 1 or 2 million. And so there is a whole world out there. Kellyanne Conway, I hate to agree with her, but I do a lot of times. Donald Trump understood that, and we didn't. And that's not just Democrats that don't. The entire political class is way off, way off, way off.
Yep. And, you know, Leslie Stahl said it the other day, too. When I can't remember who she was interviewing. I know the crowd was heckling them, but that the mainstream media has lost their power and the alternative media has become mainstream. So, you know, Van Jones, again, I've said this before, he's somebody that I don't agree with politically, but most of the time he is honest. He generally won't just tote the party line. And at least he's actually asking questions instead of pretending they lost the election because of fascism and white supremacy.
Well, shout out to really quick to Jay keeps asking in the Rumble chat and Mad Comic over here in the Twitter chat. But I mean, look, this is a great point right now. So to me, we witnessed two amazing campaigns from President Trump, where both times he was outsmarted the competition and went outside the norm. In 2015, it was using Facebook. Nobody up to then. I know it's hard for us to think about it right now, but up until 2015, plus he had a huge Twitter following already, but up until 2015. That was the first time that you were scrolling through your phone, minding your own business on Facebook, and then poof, there was a presidential candidate in the palm of your hand speaking directly to you. Quite frankly, that is why they turned around and started all the stuff, the censorship on conservatives and cutting down on all that, because they saw how powerful it was. Well, fast forward now, everybody's doing that now. It's kind of became one of those things that now you see it and you just keep scrolling. It's just like, I'm tired of hearing from these people, sort of thing. But in 2015, it was very new, and it was awesome. Even if somebody who didn't like President Trump, they probably watched because it was interesting. They've never seen that before. Fast forward to now, and once again, Trump went outside the norm and became what we've dubbed as the podcast president. Got out on all these different things, on the podcasts, on the streams, all these different things to get out, and that's why we're seeing a huge movement among the young people as well. In that. And, CNN, they need to be careful. If they start telling the truth a little bit and actually being a little unbiased, like we saw in that clip right there, they might actually start beating the Food Network in ratings, because the last set of ratings that came out, they actually got beat by the Food Network. And I know it's the holiday season, but there's no excuse for that. That's how bad they are. Actually, they're so bad that they're now staging fake videos of rescuing fake prisoners out of say they've been in there for 3 months and the perfect manicures are clean, shaved, all the whole 9 yards, and so that's how desperate they are for viewership at this point.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. And here's the other big thing that in my opinion, they're missing is they've become basically the butt of the joke. Nobody trusts them anymore. They've become irrelevant. And a lot of why their viewership has decreased is because we've been running their clips and plenty of other podcasts and other shows, and then we go debunk them. We go show where they're lying. We take their clip and then we take real information that they're ignoring or pretending doesn't exist, and we're fact checking them. They've become a joke to everybody because they know people even in the middle, when 89% of your stories about Donald Trump are negative and 87% about Kamala Harris are positive. I may have those numbers reversed, but you can go check the Media Research Center. They went and did a study throughout the election from when they airdropped in Kamala and swapped out Biden going forward on how the mainstream legacy media covered everything. And, your average normie voter, somebody like that in the middle, even they smell a rat when it's so lopsided. So they've just completely lost the nation's trust. And again, we utilized their lies. Those were our biggest tool in gaining the trust of people in the middle and growing our reach to everybody, because we would go then show their clips, them blatantly lying, making things up, ignoring the truth, going back to like the Very Fine People hoax, show people that, even Snopes says this is fake now. They've just completely lost Americans' trust. And honestly, the cable networks are on their way out anyway. More and more people are cutting the cord and going to digital media. And that's the way things are going to stay. I don't think they're going to be able to gain the ground back. I mean, I really think what the legacy media's next move is going to be is these, we're already hearing little inklings about them doing buy-ins or partnerships with YouTube and other major media platforms, social media platforms, and basically putting in the figure I've heard is $100 million a year to make sure they show up in everybody's feed, and that way they'll be able to maybe rebuild some of their audience. But honestly, I don't even think that's going to work. I think the trust is just totally gone for these legacy media outlets, and they've basically got 2 to 4 years to build something else, and hopefully they don't. Otherwise, we're going to retain control over the media narrative going forward. And you're starting to see this with Trump's popularity going up, with companies starting to make patriotic, pro-American ads again. We're retaking the culture, and that's what they really fear right now.
Absolutely. Shout out to Thaddeus and Project over here in the Twitter chats. Appreciate you guys. Look, there's so much to unpack here. So number one, something I think kind of got missed the first go around is Van Jones is there when he's talking about that, his son, what platforms he's on. He said Rumble. And what's interesting about that is, Rumble is known to be a conservative platform. I mean, it's a free speech platform, but it's been dubbed a right-wing conservative, platform where we stream our show on Rumble. And the fact that his son is on there is pretty telling as well, if you ask me. And so, look, the thing is, another reason that the legacy media is dying is because the people out there as a whole, as a group, have been what's the word I'm looking for? Trained, if you will, to know they want to get their media and their information in 30-second sound bites. TikTok and all this other stuff. And so nobody's going to sit down in front of their TV and sit there and watch these legacy media, hour-long shows anymore. And if someone is willing to dedicate an hour, they're not going to listen to those guys, because these are the people who want to do their own research. They're going to go and actually find someone who they actually trust, who's going to do the actual work and bring authentic, true news stories to them, as opposed to the spin that they're having up there. So, they're in a lose-lose situation. They can't reach the people who only want the 30-second clips, and they can't reach the people who actually care enough to actually do some research, because anybody that does the research knows that they're lying about everything. So they don't want to watch those outlets anymore. So they're I don't know what they're going to do at this point. I hope that I am able to live long enough to watch CNN completely collapse.
Yeah, well, I got a feeling they're going to be sold off here soon enough anyway, just like MSNBC. They've been a dead weight for years now. They haven't been able to generate revenue. Their audience keeps disappearing and dying. Their average viewers over 70 years old now on CNN. And again, that's not a knock against anybody that's 70, but if you're not pulling in younger viewers at all, then obviously, as they like to say about the voting base for Republicans, that they're just going to die off, then they can't get power anymore. Well, that's now become their fate. But let's go ahead and actually jump into these stories. Well, we know why they call him Pedo Pete now. Biden releases Chinese prisoner arrested with 47,000 child sex abuse images. And this is in addition to a number of Chinese spies and other dirtbags that he pardoned as he's works his way out the door.
Well, it's not even just, when you really dig into this specific story, it's absolutely, first of all, the fact that somebody only got 8 or 9 years, 90 something months, I think, for having these images, because it wasn't just, and not that it's okay either way, but I just want people to understand, this wasn't like he had a 17-year-old person claiming to be 18. Like, this person had infant stuff on there. I don't even want to say the word, but infant stuff on there.
Yeah, CP.
Yes. So this was like the worst of the worst in terms of the pedophilia stuff that he had on his computer. And Joe Biden turns around and issues a pardon to this person, or clemency, whatever, gets this person out of prison after only serving 2 years in prison. And this person is a Chinese citizen. So, I'm sorry, but I didn't have this on my bingo card. I thought that Joe Biden, I didn't even know he was this low at the end of the day. But then again, as you pointed out, we've seen the way he sniffs kids on national TV. So maybe he said, I'll let you go in exchange for giving me the computer with all the information on it.
Yeah. It sounds like somebody needs to check Biden's hard drive. But yeah, I wonder too, is this connected to all the business dealings that Hunter had in China? Was this guy another bag man for somebody, or was he somebody, feeding Hunter and the Biden crime family information or setting up deals for them? Or is this somebody that, has a personal connection to the CCP back in China? And this is a favor the government asked for. Was this guy maybe was he going around blackmailing other people here with the images and the CP, and then making them tools of the Communist Party? We don't really know. And just because it's Biden, because of their influence peddling campaign that Hunter ran for them, and he's now immune from prosecution for, is there more to the story than we're hearing right now?
No, it's a great question, and I want to give a shout out to friends over here in the Twitter chat, and then Project 87 brings up a good point. It says Biden has been funded through China when he had a funded office with a Pennsylvania college. So his ties to China go back decades at this point with all of this. And so at the end of the day, you can always follow the money. And then also shout out to Hope Neff and Marble over here in the Twitter chat as well. But you can always follow the money to get back on all of this and find out what's going on. And there's no doubt that to pardon or to let someone out of prison on something as egregious as this crime, knowing that it's going to hit the media and everything, like, there has to be a very good reason from the Biden perspective in order to have done something such as this. I don't know what that is, but man, think about the dirt they would have to have on you for you to be willing to let a child, infant pedophile person out of prison, and knowing that she's going to have to own that. Think about what kind of dirt they would have to have on you, or how much, because there's no amount of money that would get me to do that. I can tell you that. Nothing would get me to do that. But I'm just saying, think about it from that perspective, and your mind goes wild.
Yeah, and of course they're out there, trying to badmouth some of the pardons that Trump issued at the end of his first term. But a lot of these are grandmothers that were thrown in jail for over 10 years for selling weed, stuff like that. Where the sentence didn't fit the crime, somebody lobbied for it, and I get there's some questions about a few of the pardons like that Trump issued, or some of the clemency. But again, we're not talking this level of depravity. Even with some of those, we were primarily talking to people that were over sentenced. There were questions about their guilt, or other, what a pardon is designed for is people that did get the short end of the stick in the system, that, maybe like the one woman that was kind of the face of the First Step Act. I'm blanking on her name, but she was put in for 10 years for selling marijuana, small amounts. And, again, it just seems overly excessive for the crime that she committed to have her in jail for that long, especially with as old as she was, it being a first real offense for her. But anyway, let's move on, because there's a lot to talk about.
One more really good point Marble brought up in the Twitter chat here. Guess who owned the island next to the Epsteins? That was Joe's brother. And we got to remember that as well. That's come out, that Joe's brother owned the island beside of Epstein Island. So take that into account when you're talking about all these things as well.
Yeah, well, maybe we need to check and make sure there's not a tunnel from Jim Biden's pedophile island over to Epstein's pedophile island. There are always rumors of more under that blue and white temple. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get an expert on this stuff on maybe next week. This is huge, though. Justice Department reveals 26 FBI informants attended J6 protest. 4 entered the Capitol. No charges. I'm going to go ahead and pull our next headline because these are related. Whistleblower. FBI Deputy Abbate told agents to hide dozens of January 6 informants from public. Knew it would be too embarrassing for agency to tell the truth to Americans. I mean, this is just absolutely sick, but it's also what we've been saying for years. Everybody knew there were a flood of agents in the crowd. You, in off air before we jumped on, you mentioned this doesn't align with what we were told previously, that there were hundreds of informants and agents in the crowd.
Yeah. So Representative Clay Higgins and some others have in some what's the word I'm looking at, hearings, congressional hearings, have come out after doing actual investigations and have said that they know that there were hundreds of federal agents involved and in the crowd. We don't know exactly what their roles were and how many they were, but there were hundreds. And then when pressed on this issue, the FBI director at the time, Chris Wray, refused to answer those questions. So with the information that came out the other day, or yesterday on this, it feels like a little bit of vindication for myself and those of us in the January 6th community, because, we've been saying from the get-go that this was a setup and that there were federal agents involved. And early on when we were saying this, even those in conservative circles thought we were crazy, to the point that you even start asking yourself if you're crazy. Maybe it's wishful thinking on your part because of everything that you're going through. And so to get this information now, first of all, it's sad that it took this long. A lot of us already went through our trials. A lot of us already served our prison time, all these things, and we didn't have this as evidence to in our defense early on. And so I'm glad it's coming out. I wish it had came out sooner, but we do feel a little bit of vindication for that. And hopefully this is some ammunition that we can use once we get our pardons, the pardon of innocence that we're pushing for, that then we can then turn around and sue the federal government for violating our constitutional rights. And hopefully them being on the record as admitting this will help us in that cause.
Yeah. Now, there's something else that was in this story that I really want to get more information on. They admitted that 4 of their own agents or operatives went into the Capitol. Now, were these people there on an official capacity, or were they there just like everybody else to protest the election? Because that's another thing that doesn't seem to add up. They're saying a number of FBI agents that were there in the crowd were there under their own volition. They were there basically to support the cause. That doesn't seem to be the truth. So we really need to get to the bottom of this, find out exactly how many people were there, in what capacity, and then if any of them weren't there for official reasons, were they also targeted, arrested, and thrown out of the FBI? Because that certainly seems to be what they would. They've gone full bore after everybody else. Did they cut these guys a pass? And is this yet another example of corruption and favors for political insiders?
Well, what it boils down to is, at the end of the day, if you were there on January 6th on behalf of the FBI, then you got paid for it. And if you were there on behalf of President Trump, you went to prison for it. I mean, that's really what this comes down to, and it's absolutely disgusting what they've done. And so, out of the information that came out yesterday, I do want to be clear that they're claiming that there were 26. They're admitting, I should say, that there were 26 FBI informants. Now, this isn't talking about any other agency. There's dozens of federal agencies, the CIA, the DHS, all this. And that's not even, they're not even admitting to the actual official FBI agents that were there. They're only admitting to the informants that were there, but they're claiming out of the 26, they're claiming that only 3 of them were paid. And so I don't know where the other 23 would fall into why they were there, how they got there, all that stuff. But I would imagine that they're only claiming the ones that there's a paper trail for. So I would imagine that these are the 3 that they, not only did they pay, but they probably paid with some sort of bank transfer, something that can be traced versus paying with cash. This is speculation on my part. I'm trying to be very clear on what they have admitted to and what I have as speculation. So they've admitted that there was 3 that were paid, but out of them, they went into the building. So we know that there were 3 paid FBI informants who were there on behalf of the FBI who went into the building on January 6th.
Well, this is a story I'm sure we're going to stay on top of, and that there'll be more information coming out soon. We got to take a quick break, but we're going to be right back with even more.
Hey, folks, it's your buddy John Rich here and co-founder of Old Glory Bank. Let me ask you a question. Why would you trust your banking with people that hate you? Well, you shouldn't. We're building a freedom economy, and now we have a pro-America bank. It's called Old Glory Bank. Check it out at oldglorybank.com and open yourself an account today.
Old Glory Bank is a full-service, FDIC-insured online bank with business and consumer banking and customers in all 50 states. It takes just 8 minutes to open an account at oldglorybank.com.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
If I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep. It's feeling like more energy, more get up and go. And it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
To try Cardio Miracle for yourself and get a special fan discount, go to the host page right now and click the link for Cardio Miracle.
Thank you for staying with us. And the best way to support our program and all the programs on Patriot TV is by supporting our sponsors. You can do that by going to patriot.tv, clicking on the Insurrection, and then right under there will be a list of a lot of the companies that are supporting us and all the work that we do and making it possible to bring this broadcast to you. Well, we got another whistleblower to talk about too from the USDA, and this story is just breaking this morning, so we're probably going to have more information on this over the next few days, so probably when we come back on Monday. Exclusive, federal whistleblower alleges retaliation for reporting Hatch Act violations and anti-Trump rhetoric, and this is throughout the USDA. So this is people using their official capacity as a USDA agent or operative, inspecting various food facilities to push a political agenda. And again, we know, that the entire federal government has been weaponized against conservatives, but this is yet another example from yet another federal agency of federal employees using their power to push the leftist globalist agenda on corporations all over the country. Now, is this a threat of, hey, if you guys donate more money to the Trump campaign, I think we're going to have to go back and audit your inspection records. We're going to have to review whatever, or maybe we need to shut your whole plant down for 3 days and sterilize everything for no particular reason. I mean, this is highly abusive. These USDA agents have a lot of power anyway. I used to deal with a lot of food service, food production companies staffing their facilities, and these guys, they have an ego issue anyway. Like, a lot of them they want reserved parking spaces, they want access in and out. They're already kind of thought of as using their power to get benefits from the companies that they're there to inspect. And again, we do need them. We do need somebody ensuring that our food supply is safe and not contaminated. I mean, this is one of the few government agencies that I feel like does actually serve a real purpose, but we can't have them abusing their power like this.
I won't say that the USDA serves its purpose. It has a purpose it's supposed to serve, but they're not currently. I know what you meant, but they're definitely not serving that right now. That's why we're excited to get RFK Jr. in there and actually get them serving these purposes of what they're supposed to be doing, which is, making sure we have clean, healthy food and all that stuff, and safe food to eat in our country. But for people who maybe don't know the Hatch Act, in layman's terms, it's basically anyone who's a federal employee of any sort. So even like a post office worker, would fall under the Hatch Act. They are basically not allowed to use their official authority, like their position as a federal employee, to interfere with an election result. They're not allowed to solicit or accept or receive political contributions. They're not allowed to, solicit or discourage political activity. And then they're not allowed to actually run for public office themselves in a partisan race. So if you work for the post office and you wanted to run for office, you couldn't run for a race where you have to check a box that you're Republican or Democrat. It would that fall. I think that is a little extreme on the Hatch Act. I think that they should still be allowed to run for office. But I guess that would fall under, receiving political contributions. I don't know. Maybe that's why they have made that illegal to do that. I don't know. But this is it's one of those things that I believe that a lot of times the Hatch Act is overused, if you will. But this is a situation where this is what the Hatch Act was actually designed for and designed to do, and that's why this is such a big deal at the end of the day. And this person needs to be held accountable for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, as we get more information, as this story unfolds, because like I said, this headline literally just went up just before we within an hour before us going on air, so I'm sure there'll be a lot more information coming out. But this is something we really need to find out how widespread this is and what damage was inflicted because of it, because we're just now hearing about this, but we already know this cancer is in just about every government agency as is. I want to get to our friend Terry again. He's got another story. Tom Holman holds closed-door meetings with Chicago Democrats, union members, and law enforcement, including Alderman Raymond Lopez, in direct defiance of Governor Pritzker, and mass deportations to begin in Chicago. So, and again, thank Terry Newsom for all the hard work he's doing up there in Chicago and staying on top of this invasion and working directly with Holman and others to ensure we get some results. But this is starting to unfold, and it's going to be glorious when these mass deportations start.
Absolutely. Quick shout out to Organist in the Twitter chat, as well as Spencer and Poppy. Appreciate you guys. And Andrew as well hopping in. We appreciate it. Look, so Tom Homan was asked in an interview, what are you doing now leading up, because he's not officially in a position yet. So what are you doing now? And he said exactly, that. He said, I'm traveling around to the sanctuary cities. I'm basically meeting with them, letting them know this is not going to be tolerated any longer. And so I think that's great that he's not waiting until he's sworn in to really, start doing the job. And the reason why he's doing that is because he's very passionate about this. We know that he was actually offered another position. I don't remember the exact position he was offered, and he turned it down. He said, no, I only want to focus on the border. That's all he wanted to do. Because, he understands the importance of that in terms of national security. And so I think it's awesome we have somebody who's not doing it just because that was what they're tasked to do, but they're doing this job because it's very important to them and they're very passionate about it. And I think we're going to see some serious changes.
Yeah, he's going around all these sanctuary cities right now, putting the mayors or the governors on notice, and that way they can get their affairs in order before they're arrested. I like how he's now providing the U.S. code for the laws they're violating by facilitating illegal immigrants in their city, by hiding them, covering them up, by interfering in official deportations. So hopefully these threats start influencing some of these people to stand down that wanted to get the kudos from the mainstream media for standing up to the big, mean Trump administration that's going to deport all these, single mothers and grandmothers and everyone else, since they want to pretend that's exactly what's going to happen. And we got some more pushback, too, or I don't know if this is pushback or just correcting things. Texas Lieutenant Governor announces Texas will buy all of the dirt cheap border materials left by Biden and will give it back to Donald Trump. So the Biden regime is right now auctioning off the materials that were left over for the border wall. They're trying to, again, do this as he rushes out the door, just try to sabotage efforts to put the wall up. They're now taking this material and trying to sell it off before Trump gets back into office. So to delay the process of getting a wall built, because all the materials they sell or dispose of, they won't be able to just turn around and go back to building a wall. So again, it's sick and it's against the will of the people. Even 70% of Democrats want mass deportations and our border situation fixed permanently, but they just can't help themselves. These globalists just can't help but try to stop the will of the people every chance they get.
Absolutely. Shout out to Luann over here in the Twitter chat, says all about time. Let's deport them all. And I agree 100%. They were selling these, it was like an auction thing, but they started at $5. Like when I saw the thing, these things were being auctioned off at the time, at $5. I'm sure it might have went up some, but I mean, this is insane what they're doing. Honestly, of all the things that we could say that Joe Biden has done to be guilty of treason, I don't know how anyone could argue and say that this guy has not committed treason on this specific act. He is knowingly and willingly selling off parts of what's going to be the border wall so that he can continue to aid and abet the invasion of our country after he is no longer the president. This is literally the definition of treason. I'm so sick and tired of Republicans putting out mean tweets, strongly worded letters, trying to fundraise off this stuff. Somebody charge this guy with treason, for goodness sakes. That's exactly what this is, and that's the only way it's going to stop is we got to start making examples out of him. This is treason. Charge him with it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, they should be impeaching him right now. And I don't want to hear about, it's too close to the end of his term. I mean, they impeached Trump after January 6th. They had to get it done before he went out the door. So I don't want to hear any of this garbage. There's plenty of time left. Impeach him for this. And at the very least, that's on his record, even if he can't get a conviction in the Senate right now because of all the rhinos up there like Romney and whoever else. At least it's on the record, and at least it's done. Because I'm sick and tired of it. And I'm not the only one, and I don't know if this is just because Adams is under investigation, but Mayor Adams up in New York, they're freaking out now because he's now talking about the 500,000 children we can't find. New York Mayor Adams stuns room full of liberal reporters after meeting with Trump border czar. Originally I thought that this was solely because of the investigations on Adams for campaign finance and other potential violations, especially since originally he did want to be a sanctuary city. But I'm starting to believe maybe he really has come around, seeing the destruction there, especially for him bringing this aspect up. I mean, this is political suicide for him to even bring up these missing children at the border, and to do it in a room full of reporters like this, hit them, blindside him with it, where they're already covering the speech live after he met with Homan. That says something.
Well, it absolutely does. And, I don't know what his angle is here. I mean, this man ran on the platform of, I will make New York City a sanctuary city. That's what he ran on that platform. Now, if he's truly had a great awakening, that's awesome. I would welcome him over to, at least our side on this specific issue in terms of securing our border. But I don't necessarily trust this guy. I don't believe he's doing this for the right reasons. I believe he's trying to butter up to President Trump and angle in hopes of, not getting prosecuted for some of the crimes that he's probably committed, or getting a pardon on these things. But I knew that we'd been talking for a while that it was 300,000 missing children. So it was interesting that he comes out and says 500,000 missing children. Who knows what that real number actually is? It's probably even much higher than 500,000. And then there's probably hundreds of thousands that we can account for, like we know where they're at, but they're still being trafficked and misused and being abused and all those other things. The amount of devastation from this border crisis is probably would be really hard to quantify at this point. But I will say this: I'm happy that he is willing to work with the Trump administration on this, because New York, Chicago, a couple other places are some of the worst places right now in terms of these illegals and invading our country. So if he's going to work with them and he's willing to help use local resources to help Tom Homan round these people up and deport them, I'm all for that. I just hope he's doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, like, I don't even care what his reasoning is behind it. Having somebody that will actually work with the Trump administration in a major city like New York, because again, this is also going to help New Yorkers get the relief they need, which is going to help us. Again, they'll look at Trump as the one that solved that problem. Mayor Adams assisted, but it helps us and it helps the whole country by helping to eliminate this problem. And hopefully another step they need to take is just defunding this whole thing from the very beginning, cut off the resources that are going to all these illegal aliens, and then maybe a good number of them will start to self-deport. I mean, supposedly we're already starting to see that in some areas, but the more the merrier, because that way it'll cost us less money, and then there's less chances of interactions that are negative or other consequences. So hopefully we see more of this, and we see some of these other mayors and governors come around and realize that this is what America needs right now. This is what they voted for, and we're tired of this invasion. It's got to stop.
Yeah, well, quick shout out to Cal S. Beth over here in the Getter chat, and then Kelly Song over in the Rumble chat. Appreciate you. Glad you was able to make it. Look, what I'm hoping for is that some of these mayors of these other cities see how popular this is in New York City, even not outside of Republicans, just popular in general, and how much it's going to help that city. And then maybe they will hop on board, even if they have to hold their nose to do it. Maybe they'll hop on board and realize it's for the betterment of the people who have elected them into these positions. Because I can't sit here and honestly believe that the people in Chicago want these illegals, closing down some of their own community buildings and getting all this priority treatment. I mean, we know thanks to the work of Terry and some others up there that they had shelters to where these illegals were able to go in there, and homeless veterans were not able to go inside the tents to get warm. They were stuck outside while the illegals are going in there. I don't know how any American, regardless of your political beliefs or ideology or any of that, can say that that is okay to do that, or humanitarian or anything else in that aspect. So I'm hoping that, New York City is obviously one of the largest cities in the entire country, probably one of the largest in the world, that maybe they will see some positive change there, and they'll help lead the way to other cities hopping on board, even if they don't really want to do so, but they'll be forced to do so.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is going to start to impact, because at the end of the day, like you said, it isn't the voting base, even of the left. Even they don't want this to go on. It's the political class. It's the ruling elites. It's these white limousine liberals that want to interfere in everybody else's business, tell the rest of us how to live. They don't have to deal with the consequences of it in their gated communities. Those are the only people that are in favor of these this open wave of illegal immigration. But, Biden, again, they just can't help themselves. They can't help but sabotage the country. Number of immigrants with temporary protected status under Biden jumped up 240% since 2021, data shows. So again, this is them trying to bypass the system, bypass the process, and just grant either permanent residency or some other, using procedural maneuvers to allow people and protect them from deportation and allow people to stay here forever. Like, they've been misusing a number of different laws and statuses. What is the word I'm looking for? They've been putting a lot of them under the status where they're temporarily oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. But we're allowed in the country temporarily in this status. Normally, before, if you're going to testify in a trial, they were giving them parole into the U.S. Normally, that's for if you're going to testify, but they're misusing that, granting parole for a gazillion people, and that way they're kind of like in immigration limbo. They're not here to testify. They've been given paroled status, but they also can't get a work permit or anything else. So instead, they are just here in the country, mooching off the government or working under the table, taking black market jobs, and it's got to end. It's got to end immediately.
Well, once again, the only answer here is to make treason great again. That's the only or punishable again. I'm sorry. The only way to actually clean this up, this border process, is to make treason punishable again. That's the only way to do it. Joe Biden has committed treason, and all these other people who are quote unquote just doing their job. I'm sorry, that's not an excuse. You swore an oath to the Constitution. If you don't know what the Constitution is because you didn't read it, then that's your fault. You swore an oath to something that you didn't understand. That's on you. You swore an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America against enemies foreign and domestic. And right now you are, as you just doing your job, you are aiding and abetting both foreign and domestic enemies of our country, because Joe Biden is a domestic enemy of the United States of America, and you are aiding and abetting foreigners to invade our country, so you're aiding them as well. You got double treason on your hands as far as I'm concerned, and the time for patty cake politics is over with. It's time to start holding these people accountable.
Exactly. There needs to be repercussions for people's actions. Guys, we got to take another quick break here from our sponsor, and then we're going to be right back with even more. Maybe.
Hey, Patriot TV fans, feel like there's nothing on the radio for like-minded, intelligent people like yourself? Well, great news. Now you can stream Patriot TV on TuneIn during your drive to or from work. Whether you're stuck in traffic or cruising down the highway, you can catch every conversation from your favorite show hosts right in your car. No more mindless jibber-jabber. Tune in 24/7 on the road, at the gym, or wherever you are. Download the free TuneIn app now on Apple, Android, or your computer and never miss a beat. Patriot TV, now on TuneIn.
My name is General Mike Flynn, and I want everyone to know that I stand fully behind Beverly Hills Precious Metals and its owner, Andrew Sorcini. We are facing one of the greatest periods of financial uncertainty in both American and world history, and so now is the time to organize your finances. With the advent of the BRICS pay system, we need to now seriously consider how we can take better care of ourselves and our families and start some serious decision making when it comes to our wealth. You can also ask about their newest 2-ounce coin of yours truly. It's an absolutely great gift, and I am deeply honored to be part of history, as well as helping people protect their finances, their wealth, and their investments. So visit gold.generalflynn.com. Tell them the General sent you. Thank you so very much. God bless you, and God bless America.
Guys, thank you for staying with us. And the best way to support our program and all the programs on Patriot TV is by supporting our sponsors. Go to gold.generalflynn.com. Investing in gold is a hedge against inflation and, Bidenomics, because we're going to still be dealing with the consequences of Bidenomics for at least the first several months of the Trump administration as the turnaround begins. Well, we got more good news for you guys on this Friday. Deadly virus samples went missing from a lab in major biosecurity breach, say authorities. This is down under in Queensland, Australia, where they just misplaced over 300 deadly viruses. No idea what happened to them. No record if they were disposed of, lost, or whatever. So, guys, get ready for some fun and excitement as we go into the new year. Maybe we're going to get COVID 20. Maybe that's coming next. Maybe it'll just be Super Ebola. But how can this many people be this incompetent? 300 viruses went missing. This isn't we lost a sample, we don't know if it was disposed of. It's 300 of them.
Yeah, this is not an accident. This is not incompetence. And I know we think, oh, that's all the way down in Australia. Let me tell you, we've already learned through the COVID scandemic stuff and all the research that people have done that, like, the American government and American taxpayers are funding this research all over the world. So I guarantee you, there's no proof of this yet, but I guarantee you when the truth comes out, if it ever does, that America is involved in that specific lab in some way or another, or American companies involved, because Australia is, on our side, if you will. I guarantee you that we're involved in this in some aspect. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Once again, this is all speculation. I'm just thinking out loud as we're, uncovering this story here. But I almost wonder if this has anything to do with the drones. That's what my mind goes to, because once again, it's something very small. A drone could carry that. Whether that's happening or not, that just shows you once again the threat of the drones flying all over New Jersey and these things that are missing like this. It would be easy for them to carry that and drop that right in the middle of a city somewhere and just cause all kinds of who knows what chaos throughout our country. So this is a major, like you said, this isn't One, this isn't three. We're talking 300 samples are missing. That is not incompetence. That is not negligence. That is criminal, is what that is.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure as we dig into this, more and more information comes out. Like you said, we're going to find that they, the CDC funneled grant money through a third party, Metabiota, one of these other companies they worked with before, just to launder the money over to this biolab. Again, we don't know that that's happened for sure, but don't be surprised when we find out, because that's always the case. And then our media gets to pretend that they're surprised. Who would have ever suspected these people would be doing illegal things with the money we gave them behind our back, that they would be funding funding research? That's illegal. How could this have happened? But, it's all intentional. And like you said, we don't know what the delivery method will be. It wouldn't be that hard to cook up a batch of whatever, have these drones that are now all over New Jersey, aerate a mist of whatever over a football game, over a school, or just over a city where there's people out watching, infect a number of people, allowed to go from there. I'm sure most of us have seen 12 Monkeys, so you know what happens when you open a vial of a deadly disease at an airport and then it gets spread all over the world. So it's basically what happened with COVID. It originated in Wuhan. It probably got spread on their train system originally because it was near Chinese New Year. And then China, cut off inbound flights, but allowed people to travel outside of the country so they could spread the disease all over the planet. So don't be surprised when we have something like this pop up in early 2025, because I think they will go to any method, no matter how extreme, to stop Trump and to stop our agenda of making America great again.
So you're telling me that the COVID did not come from a bat, someone eating bat soup? That's not what happened there? Exactly. Yeah. So, let me find it. Who was it here? Man, I just had a good comment from somebody. Marvel in the Twitter chat says Dr. Peter Hotez, which is basically Fauci Jr., recently smirked in an interview saying a whole bunch of new viruses would hit around the end of January. So you just said that too. But he actually is on the record of saying that. And we already know that they say these things before they happen. It's almost like a unwritten rule that they have to, let the cat out of the bag in somewhere. No, it's almost like they're, playing some little game of puzzles or something. So I'm with you. And I think that where a lot of conservatives are at right now is there's like this eerie calmness that's happening right now between the election and Trump taking office. I mean, look at all the chaos that they had leading into the campaign. They literally not only tried to throw Trump in prison for 1,000 years and raided his home and all this, but they attempted multiple assassination attempts. They actually shot the man on live TV. But now all of a sudden he's elected and there's nothing going on like that. That makes me I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's important for people to keep their head on a swivel. But to your point, I'm with you. I don't put anything past these people. They're capable of anything at this point. And the COVID worked the first time in hurting the economy. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they don't try something similar once again.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the calm before the storm right now on multiple fronts. It feels like it's the calm before the storm for the deep state right now, too. Trump says RFK Jr. will study possible link between childhood vaccines and autism as HHS secretary. And again, this seems like it should be a good thing that people would want to get behind. And for those of you who don't know, there actually is a existing study on vaccines and autism, but it wasn't very widespread. It's on the CDC website still. It had to do with one vaccine in particular in 8-year-olds. I don't remember what the age range was exactly. It was like 8 to 10-year-olds who got the vaccine, and then looking at all the autism rates afterwards. But this is freaking them out. And again, it's because it's going to be going after uncovering a lot of these secrets and lies from Big Pharma and their partnership with HHS, the CDC, and everyone else. And just putting that out in public is going to have consequences. As we said yesterday, even if Pfizer has immunity till 2029, thanks Joe Biden, we can still wreck their reputation, go and get the truth out, and that'll have financial consequences for them. Maybe we can't go after them criminally, but financially it'll be devastating for them.
Absolutely. I want to give a quick shout out to Batatuli and obviously over here in the Getter chat. Appreciate you guys, Spencer and JD in the Twitter chats. Look, if you don't believe that the left is brainwashed, you just have to cover this one thing right here. I mean, the fact that they are protesting, saying, I think that me and my children should be poisoned because I hate President Trump so bad. Like that's where these people are at. Like they hate President Trump. and therefore they hate RFK Jr. So therefore they hate everything that RFK Jr. is wanting to do. And RFK Jr. is like, hey, I don't care if you hate me. I just want to let you know that they're poisoning you. And you're like, I don't care. I want to be poisoned. Don't do this. Like, that's how crazy these people are. I've never seen people protest saying, I want you to poison my food. I want you to inject my children with poison. That's literally what the left is protesting right now. That's how crazy and brainwashed these people truly are. Those are people that are so depraved. There's no helping those sorts of people. It's time to just write those people off and just forget about them as conservatives, because there's no helping anybody who's that nutty. There's no way. There's no reason to waste our time and energy. But that's where they're at.
Yeah, you've got dysgenic leftist retards right now going on TikTok and drinking seed oils to protest RFK Jr. I mean, how dumb do you have to be? But, at least I look at it this way. At least they're helping take themselves out of the gene pool when they get colon cancer or whatever else from drinking these seed oils. Speaking of global sabotage, we didn't get to the story yesterday, but Viktor Orban had a deal that for a Christmas ceasefire worked out where Putin seemed to be on board and Zelensky was making some noise about it. But now Orban says Zelensky has now rejected the proposal for a Christmas truce between Ukraine and Russia. And this would have been a great thing. It would have stopped the killing. They both would have held their positions that they'd taken, give Trump a little time to get into office, and then actually broker a meaningful, lasting peace deal between the two countries. So this, God knows how many lives this just cost for them to reject a Christmas ceasefire that would have continued until after January 20th. And I'm sure it's just from pressure from Biden and the UK and everybody else that wants this war to continue in Ukraine indefinitely.
Yeah, the pressure is coming from the military-industrial complex, who basically owns the American government and the European government as well on this. It's really sad what's going on here. So, I mean, a Christmas truce ceasefire would be kind of the beginning of a true peace talk situation. It's hard to discuss peace when you're still shooting at each other, and so that would kind of open the door to have that and just kind of show the people on both sides what it would be like to have peace as well. They've kind of been in war so long, they probably forget somewhat what peace was like under, before all this kicked off. And you're exactly correct. The Biden regime, the globalist elites, they want to continue the foot on the gas, the military-industrial complex of pushing this as far as they possibly can, to milk every penny they can get out of this, and to try to create so much division that it's going to be what their goal is going to be that it's going to be impossible for Trump to negotiate peace. That was a big part of Trump's campaign, was negotiating peace on this, and they're going to do everything they can to try to make that as difficult as possible. They don't care how many lives it costs in the process of doing so. That's how evil these people really are.
Exactly. They have no value on human life. It means nothing to them. And, we're seeing that right now in Canada. Euthanasia is now the cause of 1 in 20 deaths in Canada. So this is their MAID program, their medical assistance in dying, which, we've heard all these horror stories about that expanding to, veterans that a simple surgery could fix a pain problem, or somebody that's disabled in a wheelchair. Do you really want to be in that wheelchair? Do you really want to be partially paralyzed? Would it be better just to kill yourself? But I guess this is how you regulate a universal healthcare system. There's only so many levers you can pull, and one of those is killing off your patients, because they don't cost any money once they're dead.
Dude, this is a crazy stat, man. I mean, it really is 1 in 20 through euthanasia. Now, think about how evil these people really are with the direct targeting that they do on people and stuff now. Imagine, and this is what they've been trying to roll out in the United States. And there's been a couple states, West Virginia is one of them, where we've pushed back and basically said, no, you can't do that here. But they're trying to ramp this up in America as well. Now, I want to paint a picture for you guys as to what's going on and how these companies are, because they don't care. They're caring about money. They make money off of killing people legally, like this legal murder. And so imagine this: somebody is going through a divorce, and then you get a direct mail letter in the mail because they got that data of, oh, your life's so terrible, come in and push a button. That's what they're doing. People who are already in these vulnerable situations. This isn't. On paper, they'll say, oh, it's somebody who's dying with cancer and they don't want to suffer anymore. I still think it's wrong, for the record. But, that's what they try to do, and that's how they convince people. But that's not what this is about. 1 in 20 is a huge number in terms of overall deaths. We're talking about accidents. We're talking about diseases. We're talking everything. 1 in 20 people in Canada are pushing the button. That's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, there literally are examples of patients with depression being euthanized because they're sad. And rather than trying to get them more treatment, or maybe they do need medication, whatever. Instead, like, you know what, you're sad. Why don't you just come in, press the button, and we're going to inject you with something. You're going to go to sleep and never wake up again, and then all your problems are over. Again, this is immoral. And what I expect from these type of communist countries, like we keep joking around about, eventually one of these days maybe we are going to have to go liberate America's little brother, America's hat, Canada, and save them from themselves, save them from Justin Trudeau. But I mean, the good news is the people there do seem to be coming around on some of this stuff, but
it's heartbreaking, man. Honestly, that story really bothers me. I mean, it really does. I mean, just to think about, like, when you buy an item from something, or we all know you get on a website and search for something, and now you start getting targeted ads for that. Imagine someone looking up the number to the suicide hotline. I mean, honestly, think about this: looking up the number to the suicide hotline because they want help, and then after that, they start getting ads on their social media and all their other stuff about how they can come in and commit suicide. That's how evil, man. It is disgusting when you really think about it from that perspective. Someone go through bankruptcy, or, like I said, divorce, or they go to a funeral home because they've lost a child or something. These companies get all that data, and now they start targeting you to come in and do that. They're finding people in their most vulnerable positions, and they're preying on them and convincing them to come in, and it's easier to do that. This is absolutely, man, it is awful. It is heartbreaking that this is allowed to happen anywhere in the world. And honestly, it's one of the things we need to make sure that we start pushing on here in the United States of America. We as conservatives, as Christians, we overturned, Roe versus Wade at the federal level. I know we got a lot of battles at the state level with that, but the next battle, the next front is actually preventing this stuff from right here from happening in the United States of America. We need to support life from conception all the way through natural death. That's the only way.
Yeah, agreed. Let's bring the show out on a positive note now that we've covered all these horrible and depressing stories today. New, J.D. Vance invites Daniel Penny to be his guest at the Army-Navy game. I just find it ironic that 2 Marines are going to celebrate at the Army-Navy game, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's awesome that he actually invited him, to be there. Good for Penny as well, with everything he's went through, to not only be able to go to an event like this, as a veteran, but to also, be, getting to meet J.D. Vance. I'm sure President Trump as well. To after everything he's went through, I'm sure it means a lot. And then I've also got one more thing of breaking news here from Bilbo Bot in the Rumble chat. According to the Daily Mail in the UK, Nancy Pelosi, 84 years old, is rushed to the hospital after sustaining an injury on trip. We don't know what that injury is, but she has sustained some sort of an injury.
Well, I'm guessing it has to do with her alcoholism, and she probably fell down and hit her head. But that's just me. But yeah, I'm really what we need is a Daniel Penny Act to protect people that are standing up and protecting others around them. It's supposed to be the law anyway, that if you're able to help someone else who is clearly in danger of losing their life or bodily harm, or to take down somebody like this that's making threats to, that's who we are. And it's up to us, especially as men, to protect those that are around us. And penalizing, criminalizing, somebody being a hero, that's not who America is. We always stand up for the people that stand up for others, and this is just so backwards in New York. And Penny is planning on a lawsuit for discrimination, or basically saying this is like racially biased, and he's exactly right. And I hope he wins it, and I hope he takes New York's corrupt prosecutors to the cleaners. But guys, we are out of time, unfortunately. Thank you for joining us. Look out for more drones and UFOs over the weekend. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Stay tuned on Patriot TV for the Hannah Faulkner Show up next. And we'll be back again on Monday with even more. Thanks, guys.